Hello and welcome to Fallawsophy. I'm your host, Jennifer Fallaw-Doering, and my philosophy is to believe in infinite possibilities. We have a special treat today. We have a guest on the show that you may all know very well. Her name is Candace WhiteLight, and she will be talking about the Schumann resonance. It's something I know like little to nothing about, and that's why I'd like her, and I'm sure there's plenty of you out there that would like to know more about it as well. And so she's going to be teaching us today all about it and letting us know how it affects us and how humans affect it and why it's important to follow. I'm going to bring her on in just a little bit, but I promised at every show I would share a message. And today the message comes from meditation with Archangel Gabriel last night, and just a little story, just a little tidbit of information for you. On a personal level, I was just talking to him. We were sitting on a couch, and at the time I was sitting in bed. It was quite late, and I was sitting kind of crisscrossed legged, and I asked him, I said, there's times when I can't see you very well in meditation or in readings. And, lately, there's times when I've been getting things wrong, and I don't like that, and I would like to be better at it. It's always my goal to bring truth when asked questions. And I asked him, I said, so what can I do to see you better? I know there's a lot of you out there taking my meditation classes right now. Interdimensional meditation. It's like stepping into a dream. If you'd like to do that, you can go to my website, jenniferfallaw.com. But I asked him, waiting for some big revelation, some wonderful trick that I could work on to increase that clarity. And he just looks at me and says, listen. I'm like, okay, I'm listening, waiting for it. And he kind of laughs and looks at me, and I'm thinking, this information hits you. So that's what happens a lot of time in meditation. There's very few words, but it's an information transfer. And so the information is that if you want to see better in meditation, listening is part, because when you're listening, you stop thinking. And in this kind of meditation, thought is creation. And so if I am busy in thought, thinking too much about what I'm going to ask, and I'm not giving him a window to answer. I'm just putting in my own words. And so it's important to know when trying these meditations, as a lot of you are right now, that you listen, to pause, try to go blank a little bit. And that was so simple. And it reminds me the way that the angels teach is so perfect, but so simple, so easily absorbed, that, and that's something I need to work on. I always have so much to say. And even, when somebody's telling me a story, I do listen, but I think there's a part of me who's thinking about how I'm going to respond. Not all the time, but a lot of times. And I think it's very important that we practice our listening skills, because it's very important to give the angels, God, Jesus, a window to get through to you, to put that thought in your head when there aren't so many other thoughts racing around. So then I was sitting there on the couch, and my legs, I get antsy after a while sitting there in meditation. And so I put one leg out on the bed, and I was stretching, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm listening. Like a child. I'm like a child there. I'm listening, but I'm just stretching right now. And he says, stretching is good for the soul. And I'm like, how is that? Really? How is that? Because I figured that was strictly a physical thing. And he said it releases endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. And being happy raises your vibration. And a high vibration is good for the soul. I'm like, yeah, I have to go Google that now. So I left meditation and I went and Googled it. And absolutely right. Absolutely does. Because stretching releases endorphins right there in the first sentence. Right in the first sentence. And I'm like, okay. But you know what this also did? It says releasing endorphins can elevate mood and help with pain and depression. So that is something you might want to incorporate in your life. If you're not doing any kind of exercise, we've been kind of sedentary. We haven't been moving around like we used to because of all this difficult year. I'll just say, at least get out there and do some stretching. Get that moving. You know, it releases the endorphins, and that's what we need to make us happy. So physical activity, even though you think you're doing it for your body, it really is good for the soul. What it also did is my concern in the beginning of the meditation was that I wasn't seeing clearly. That I wasn't, I've been asked some things on the radio shows lately about the world and what's going on, and when's this going to happen and when that's going to happen and things. And it's, a lot of psychic ability is interpreting the information that comes in. And it made sense that possibly I wasn't, because I was getting a lot of good information for people individually in private. But when I was on the shows, I was getting some things wrong. And I was like, what's going on? I'm talking to you. Same way. Well, when you're on a radio show, you've got somebody talking in front of you. You got somebody responding over here. And when you're waiting your turn, they're going to ask you questions about what they're talking about. And it's hard to listen because you're listening to 3 different things at once. So it made a lot of sense. And when I Googled that, and I encourage you to do this in your meditations, ask a question that you don't know anything about. I don't know anything about endorphins. I probably have heard it before. But to relate it to making the soul happy, no, I wouldn't have put that in his mouth, is what I'm saying. And so when I Googled it, it just strengthened my faith again. And trust, and made me realize that, yes, I was there. Yes, he was talking to me. Yes, I heard him. Yes, I saw him. And it was all because he made me slow down and listen. And that's where your divine's going to come from. It's going to be in the quiet. It's when you stop the quiet, the endless chatter, and receive. So I encourage you all to do that. Candace is on the show today. We are going to talk about the Schumann resonance. She is an absolutely lovely lady with a wealth of information. This is like a human encyclopedia walking around. This woman, when we get on the phone, I'll tell you, okay, we're just going to talk for 20 minutes. 20 minutes tops, that's all we're going to talk about. 3 hours later, we had to make ourselves get off the phone because what we're talking about is so interesting. Her and I are just like, oh, yeah, what about this? What about that? Oh, yeah, and what about this? That's so great. And 3 hours later, we had to make ourselves get off the phone because, responsibilities make us get off the phone. There's things we have to do, but not because we want to. So, everybody listening, everybody in the chat, we give a great, big, wonderful, loving welcome to our guests for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, Candace WhiteLight.
Hey, everyone. Hi. I'm just amazed. Obviously, this is the perfect situation for me to be a part of. I'm so pleased that Jennifer and I were able to come into connection. And this is what she's talked about for a long time, that I also have been working with. And that's about the synergy that happens when people are, relatively speaking, and even from a distance, you can feel this, the same frequency. And part of my research, obviously, has been very specifically with
I think that we lost Candace for a second. Let's see. Candace and I were talking one day, and she just has a wealth of information. And I told her you should come on and you should talk about the Schumann resonance. You should really. I see the things you post, and I have no idea what you're talking about. And I really think that you should come on and let us know what that's all about and how it pertains to us, because an awakening, and it really seems like it's something you can keep track of. We're going to wait until Candace comes back and joins us, but it really seems to me like it's something that you can keep track of. Now, I looked it up, and the Schumann resonance, SR, are a set of spectrum peaks in the extremely low frequency ELF, extremely low frequency, interesting, the ELF portion of the Earth's electromagnetic field spectrum. Schumann resonances are global electromagnetic resonances generated and excited by lightning discharges in the cavity formed by the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. That is interesting. I'm just waiting for Candace to come back. Anyway, let's talk about listening. Until we're waiting for her to come back, I'm sure she'll reconnect anytime now, and then I'll just flip her back on there. We go about our daily lives all the time. And like I said earlier, a lot of times, even when we're listening to our family members, to our spouses, to our children, no, she's calling me on the phone. We don't really listening. We're not really truly listening. We're not giving that person the respect and the time that they deserve, because we're thinking of our response. We're thinking about what we're going to say and how maybe it's possibly something we're going to say is a little bit more important than what they're saying right now. Or we're thinking of our rebuttal. Or if, someone has a grievance with us, we're thinking about how we're going to come back and we're going to prove them wrong. And that's really not what we should be doing. Even when we're learning something, when we're taking a class, we've got all of these preconceived notions about what is true and what's not true, and what you think and what you should be thinking. And we really should just stop and absorb the information. Now, it comes to the divine, the angels. Nobody's going to interfere with your free will. And if your free will is going off on a thought tangent when you're asking questions in meditation or you're in prayer, the divine is respectful of that, and they don't interrupt you. At times, they may interrupt you over a thought in meditations to get the point across, so that you know that even though you were thinking something, they answered. And I've had that happen before. But most of the time, we don't let ourselves hear it. Sometimes we're so busy praying. And yes, God can talk to you. I don't know who the heck along the way thought that they were so great, that they decided And they can tell God what to do. Well, you can pray to God, but he can't talk to you. Well, that's just a bunch of crap. I mean, who would want to restrict God? Dark side, maybe, through someone else. Just saying. But if you're in prayer and you really need answers, try, even if you're upset, try and quiet the mind and listen. And try not to think, because it's when you achieve that 1 or 2 seconds of clarity where you're not thinking too much, you'll hear the answer in your own voice, in your own mind. And you'll understand the value of listening. I am still trying to get Candace back, but she really must be having some kind of difficulty over there. If so, we'll just do it again. We can do whatever we want. Listening. Oh, quieting the mind. This is funny. My husband. My husband is, I don't even know how I deserve that man. He is so wonderful. And he will come, I don't know, pretty sure Divine's speaking through him to me at times. He's always like the voice of reason, you know. I'll get all wound up about something, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, and then I'll share it with him, and he'll be just like, you just need to have faith, or you just need to listen, or you just need to do this, or you just need to do that. And I'm just like, thanks, you know, like, but then you think about it later, and he's right. And he told me one time, he's like, you know what you need to do? You just need to think of nothing. He's like, you just need to stare at the wall and think of nothing. I'm like, how does one even do that? I don't even understand that. I mean, because if you tell me to think of nothing, and you know, just totally blank out your mind and think of nothing, I will be sitting there thinking about how difficult it is to think of nothing. And then how does one think of nothing? And then if you stare at the wall and you look at the pattern on the wall, I'll start making pictures with the pattern. And then I'll just start thinking about, you know, well, it's odd that they would put this kind of texturing on the inside of walls. And I can't stop, you know. I can, however, stop asking questions or stop trying to figure something out. And in meditation, like I've been teaching you, interdimensional meditation, you can. He got through to me when I was stretching, because I was doing something else. I was focused on something else. Or you can just focus in on how the archangel looks, or how Jesus looks, or whatever you're doing in meditation, you know, and they know what's in your heart. They know what you need. And so try that sometimes if you're having trouble focusing or listening or seeing. And it was interesting because when I did shut up, basically, and listen, I did see him. I did see him better. I mean, sometimes it's like you see the room, you see his body, but you don't really see the face as well. It's kind of blurry. And when I listened, I stopped thinking it was hard to see him. I stopped thinking about the difficulty I was having. I stopped creating that experience. And I just became an observer and stopped, and there he was. And that's when you don't worry about being wrong or right, that's when you get the best information. Let me just see where Candace is. Music, yeah. Somebody said music always helps me. Stuff like singing bowls. Yeah, it's a distraction. It puts you, music is a wonderful way to put yourself in a different state, in a relaxed state, I'm always so affected emotionally by music. If you put on happy songs, I'm happy. If you put on it, my daughter's funny. My children are too. I think it's an empath thing because my Katie, so much like me. She wanted all the beautiful music. She wanted when she was little, she wanted all the love songs and the ballads and everything. That's me. I love, beautiful music or somebody displaying a great amount of talent. Gives me the chills. It always has. It's just divine. And Katie always wanted that music. Faith, she always wanted the happy music. If you put on a sad song, kids crying right away. I'm like, ugh. So they're kind of kids who they're just so affected by their environment. And it's interesting how something like that could influence your emotions. Think about our environment. Think about one thing is the news. I stopped with the news when the kids were young because everything would be fine. Cartoons are on, everybody's happy, the homework's done, they went outside to play, it was time to hang out, and I'm making dinner, and they're in the living room, messing up the house, and so I'm standing there making dinner, and let's flip on the news and see what's going on in the world. So I flip on the news, and then all of a sudden, within a few minutes, one of them's got an attitude and is messing with the other one. Or some kind of fight breaks out. My kids didn't physically fight. They would just pick at each other. Pick at each other. But it was interesting to see how the energy that was flowing through the television could affect my household so much. You really want to think about that today. A lot of people are having trouble with family because of all the negativity in the world. Maybe it's time to turn off the negative energy that's flowing into your house. You'll get your information. Go and find the information you want. But to have it streaming 24/7 on the television and just this constant flow of negative energy, I mean, think about the energy of lies. How does it feel when somebody's standing in front of you and they're lying in real life? It's almost sickening, isn't it? It's almost a sick feeling. It's very low, sick, wrong feeling. Well, that's... If these people on the news are lying to you, you've got that streaming into your household 24/7. And so when the kids were little, I turned it off. And I don't think we watched the news for the entire Obama administration. I just what's going on? And, I took Katie to the doctor one time because she was sick. And they had sent home something about, like they do when there's chickenpox. I have allergies. Chickenpox and, different things that are going around the school. Well, Candace is calling me. Let's find out what's going on here. Hello?
Hi there. The power went out. I'm totally down.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just blab on. We're going to do it again with... All right. Candace's power's out. Okay. All right, we'll do it again. And we'll do it again in a couple days.
No problem. Okay.
All right.
All
right, love you. Bye. Well, damn it. No Candace today, but let's just blab on about random stuff in life. Let's do that. Anyway. Damn dementia. What was I talking about? Anybody? Chat? Negativity streaming into your home. Okay, so let's think about this. Music. If music affects people so much. Okay. And me, the average person, well, maybe not. Maybe a little strange. I'm a little strange. Okay. So, but if music affects me and my little household that much, think about how music affects the world. Somewhere along the way, the media and the music industry and television figured this out. And so they used it to create what they want. Because, and I'm not saying everybody in the world is bad, because that would not be fair. And I really don't want to believe that I've only got a few, okay, favorite movie stars and musicians and things. Really upset about a couple of them. Okay. It's really disappointing. But as a whole, those in charge, it's always those in power, isn't it, that manipulate and use whatever they know to use to manipulate the public, because the dark side cannot create, because they have chosen to turn away from the creator. And as a piece of the creator, they have chosen to turn off their own ability to create. So they have to use the creators, those that remain. And influence is the biggest tool. So just keep an eye out on that. And I think you're all pretty savvy about it now. We weren't. I used to think that if it was on the news, it had to be true, right? Because, I studied journalism for a little while there, and before I went into business, and you have to fact check. You get your sources. You have to make sure that it's true before you put it out there. Well, that used to be the way it was. And so now you got a whole bunch of people out there who believe, well, if it's on the news, it has to be true. And we all thought that growing up. We all thought that. And now music, let's talk about the lyrics that we don't understand. That's what's always gotten me. I've always really preferred a beautiful ballad and a beautiful voice, a big voice, or instrumental music. I listened to everything else when I was growing up. It's fun. But then, everybody's trying to mouth the songs in the car, and you don't know what the hell they're saying. That's dangerous. That is dangerous, because your brain knows what they're saying. Your soul knows what they're saying. And the energies that are coming through get through, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. And that's no fun. Some of this stuff is no fun. Well, you shouldn't watch this and you shouldn't watch that because, you're sucking in negative energy and you could be influenced, subconsciously in some way. And we all when we're young, we don't want to do that because that's no fun. That's mom and grandma stuff. And, that's church stuff. And we don't want to listen to that because that's no fun. Well, that's how it starts. And the influence has grown and grown and grown over the years to make certain things normal behavior that shouldn't be. And I think what's happening now, when people are waking up to that, is that we will have to take a look at our normal behaviors and what is acceptable right now. Take a real close look at the way things affect us and what's been slipped in under the table. Subliminal messages in music, and it doesn't even have to be subliminal. It could be lyrics that you don't really understand, but they're there. It used to be subtle. It used to be like, oh, that's a joke. That's a joke. That can't be real. That's funny, haha, because it's so ridiculous. But now it's right there in our face. It's all over the place. even in award shows and the Super Bowl and everywhere else. You can't get away from it anymore. And we've got, the media lying to us 24/7 on TV. It's like, I don't even know what the hell to watch on TV. I don't even watch TV anymore. I don't know why I pay for the service. I pay for it, I got kids. And then I'm like, I don't even want them watching anything anymore. And then you grow up thinking your kids, we had the Disney Channel on like 24/7. Nickelodeon and Disney Channel. And I'm thinking, oh, wholesome and good. That is wholesome and good Disney, Let's watch the movies and, keep it clean, because I tell you what, I was like widowed at 34 with 2 children, 4 and 7, and I was on it. Every moment of every day was about those kids. How am I going to do this right? I only got one chance at this. Can't screw up. Can't get it wrong. Sober the entire time. Wouldn't even have a beer because I was like, well, you know what? If I have a beer now, that's when that kid's going to fall down the stairs. And then I'm going to have to drive to the emergency room and they're going to say, well, no wonder your kid fell down the stairs. You're drunk. So I couldn't do nothing. I can't do anything wrong. So I really tried. I really tried. And they became teenagers, and I don't know what the hell happened. I have no idea. No idea how I'm doing now. But, oh my God, Buck Fiden in the chat just said SpongeBob is not for kids. Blasphemy. Oh my God. I love SpongeBob. We have grown up on SpongeBob. I swear to God, my children and I don't know what's underneath that. I don't know what's underlying, but we have had such a good time watching SpongeBob over the years. We could go on a talk show and win all the money with SpongeBob questions. I mean, my daughter, my Faith is so good, my oldest daughter, that, she knows every line to every episode. But, that's disappointing. If that's true, that is disappointing because we had SpongeBob on all the time. So I really hope not. But I'm just going on and on, which I know how to do very well. Be aware, but don't be scared, because there's a fine line of awareness and paranoia. Okay. Know that no matter what they're throwing at you, and no matter how they try to sneak it in, and no matter how they try to get your consent, if you openly reject all evil and openly love God and openly, maybe not even openly, in your mind, you have a little conversation with God and say, hey, I say no to all of it. All of it, forevermore. This is my choice. Then you're walking around with like mirrors facing out and everything's just bouncing off of you. It's just bouncing off of you. And there are a lot of people out there like that don't get affected by this. You still have free will, and you always will. So strengthen your faith. Be aware of your surroundings. But don't fall into, you don't have to become the crazy guy in the town square on his soapbox screaming, the sky is falling and everybody's going to die, and telling everybody about all the horrors of the world, because there's always been horrors in the world. Why? Somebody asked me in a reading yesterday, why would God allow certain things to happen? Well, because of free will. Because of free will. So, and that's a long explanation. But, well, let's get into it. Let's get into it just a little bit. All right. So here's the deal. You all know my God story. I'm not going to get all the way into it. I'm just tell the little short God story, okay? So let's imagine God, all-knowing, in his infinite wisdom, is hanging out there in the darkness like a giant crystal vase. Absolutely perfect and sparkling and beautiful and knowledgeable about everything there ever could ever be. And one day, the thought came, that knowledge is not complete without experience. And so he knew that he would have to experience in order to be all-knowing. And now how would he do this if it was just him? And I used him so that we can understand, follow with me. But how would we do that? We'd have to create a place to do that. And in order to do that, you would have to separate himself. He'd have to forget that he was him. With the ability still to create, because even divided, you cannot change that God is a creator unless he chooses not to be. So what we have is billions and billions of pieces of all different sizes. And everybody says, oh, okay, so we're collective consciousness. No. We're all one thing, one being, but with the ability to separate your consciousness. And within that separation, how do I hold it? How do I hold these pieces from coming back together if I am one, if I'm just me? Well, you have to have personal realities. And so where's my stage? Where do I create? Where do I do all these things? Well, you have to have dimensions. Because if it was in that dimension that he's in right now, the vibration is too high for anything lower to exist, for any strife to exist, for anything like that. So you have to have dimensions. And God, as an infinite creator, creates with thought. So every time there is a thought, something is created. And every time there is a thought, there's an alternate thought. Well, what if I didn't do that? What if I did this instead? So you have alternate realities, you have personal realities, you have collective realities, you have dimensions, and you have the in-between, which is interesting. I have not figured that one out yet, but I'm told it exists. So this giant crystal vase goes off in all these different pieces in all these different places to start experiencing what it is to drive a car, or to live, or to give birth, or to fall in love, or to be oblivious that he is God, and however many incarnations that takes, and however many places. And so every time there's a thought, like, well, what if, oh, we've got this planet here. What if there's another planet? What if there's this? What if there's that? There you go. On and on and on. When you drop a giant crystal vase on the floor, there are many, many different pieces. Chances are there will be one bigger piece. And this is where modern spirituality kind of falls short, because they want us all divided equally. Not that any piece is any more important than the other, because they're all as important. Because if you put the whole vase back together and you're missing one piece, it doesn't work. It doesn't hold water. So here we go. One bigger piece, right? That is God. That is what holds the thought in place. He is the unmoved mover, all-knowing. And so there is a God, and there is a loving God, and the angels do love you, and we all do love each other in our original home. And God does love you, because guess what? Guess what the angels see? They know the truth. They see the God in you having an experience with all your trials and tribulations and all your faults and your triumphs and everything else right now. And they think it's exquisite however terrible it may seem to you, they see it as an experience of knowledge. And in order to do all that, you would have to have free will to create. So that is the number one law in the universe, is we don't interfere with free will. Anyone divine does not interfere with your free will. Everything is a choice. So what is the number one thing that within free will, it's inevitable that somewhere in emotion, it's inevitable, and forgetting who you are, inevitable that some parts would want to be more and would turn against the laws of the universe and would turn against the concept and want to be separate, want to be in control, which is ridiculous because we are all in control. But so they would turn against, in spirit, basically, make a choice to turn against being a creator. And so now they are experiencing the lack of the ability to create. And so they figured that out. And they infiltrated this dimension, which I'm told recently actually is one of the heaven dimensions. They were never really supposed to be here. We were supposed to come into this physical dimension and experience, trying to survive, having a family, pain, all of those things without creating it so easily. And we were never supposed to have all this terrible evil here. Terrible carnage. We're supposed to have all that. They're not supposed to be here. And so what they're trying to do possibly is take over dimensions one by one. Never thought of that before, but it could possibly be what they're trying to do. And so let's think about the lower vibration. So the dimensions are set up by vibration. Okay? So let's think about the lower vibrational vibration. So if thought is creation and everything that is thought of is some form of creation, then everything is real somewhere. And it just, whether it's strong enough or thick enough, there's been enough energy put into it for to be solid enough to remain here, depends. It depends on how many people have gathered together, or maybe let's say collective creation could accomplish something like that. Yeah. So I'm just thinking about that. I'm trying to figure that out. But let's say that maybe the lower vibrational dimensions were never that low. But that I don't know. I'd have to meditate on that, get some more information, and who knows how much I'm allowed to know. But the dark side wants to shift the scales in this one. I do know that. And the light works and steps in when enough people, enough creators come together and create that intervention. And that is why we have been told time and time again, that's why you see a whole new movement going back to the old roots, going back to spirituality, going back to prayer. That is why prayer is important. That is what wherever two or more gather in my name means. When we combine our true divine intentions together in prayer and pair it with the bigger piece. With the bigger piece that says, yeah, I don't I want to maintain a balance in that dimension as well. I'd like it to be a better place for you, for me, and for all of us, which is him. And pray for the outcomes that you are all screaming that you want to see. You want signs, you want progress, pray for it. And that's why those posts that we've all been following, allergies, are saying that. It's not like, oh, here, well, there's not really much going on and we can't tell you anything. So why don't you go pray for a minute so that you feel better? It's not about that. They understand what the dark side is really trying to do. And it's not just a fairy tale anymore. I mean, we're seeing it in real time. So it is very important that you try to keep your intentions true and divine and in the best interest of others. That is the most powerful of creation. You know what is the most powerful prayer? From a parent for a child, or a mother and her child. Because the love behind that intent is so strong, it cannot not create something. And so I would like you all to just shift your perspective on this whole thing real quick. Because that's where I'm at. I'm kind of an observer. I sit back and I watch and I learn from other people doing things. Yeah, I talk a lot, but but I do watch and I learn from what I see. When I was a child, I was outside all the time, and with the dogs and the chickens and the horses and everybody else, and I was just dirty and outside all the time. And when everybody popped their head up, I would watch. I'd watch their reaction, the animals, because they knew something coming. They knew when weather was coming. They knew if there was a predator around. They knew. Just all at once. It wasn't that they all heard something. It was just they all felt something. And you all feel that right now. We do have natural instincts. What do animals do? They kind of shelter in place, or they go into their pack, or they find shelter when something's coming. Interesting enough, we've been all locked down for a year. Where that fits in there. But sooner or later they come out. I'm going to share a personal story. We are backed into a corner right now. We are at a turning point. We have been told to be quiet and wait. Actually been told to pray. So what we're supposed to be doing is creating. This is a lesson in conscious creation for us right now in real time. We have been told to create our positive outcome. There are physical people out there working their so hard to save the world. But what we need to do right now is be the backup. Create. So this is the way you do it. You're backed into a corner and you've had enough. And you say, well, I could either lay down and die. For me, that's never an option. Or I could do something about it. I'm hoping that we have let's pray for some results real quick before the American public comes screaming out of that corner and decides to take it in their own hands, because that will happen. That will happen. If something doesn't happen soon. But if you have been led to this broadcast, you're a little more wise. And you are the backup. You are the spiritual beings who are more connected, a little bit more wise, the observers who know how powerful your part in the creation of this triumph is. So take it seriously. When you pray, mean it. And I would love to see more prayer events. Not so much, hey, let's sit around and sing songs and, we love Jesus and all that. We already know that. True, divine, focused intent on an outcome. That's what we need. And it's when we're backed into a corner that we decide and we find out what we're made of. I remember a time, I'm going to share a real personal story with you. Now, I don't want to say anything bad about the children's father who passed away. I don't want to say anything bad, but he had his problems. And I was like goody girl over here, trying to be the best wife, trying to be the best mother, put my career aside, and I was making plenty and I was doing really well, okay? To be Little Miss Perfect and be home with the children and everything else, I put myself in a position where he had all the power. Probably not the best idea, but I didn't know any better. We were young. 2 babies. He used to come home. He worked on a construction site. He used to come home from work and he would speak a certain way to the people on the construction site. And so when he came home, he started speaking that way to me. And I'll tell you what, this dude used to work for me. Just gonna say that. Anyway, so I'm running around all day. And when you walked into my house at that point in my life, well, most of the time, but that point in my life, and you ladies know this, okay? Or anybody else who stayed home with the kids. 2-year-old, let's say 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. When he walked in the house was clean. There were no toys on the ground. The kids were bathed and clean. And dinner was almost ready to be put on the table. I was on it. I was like, no, I quit my job to do that. I was like, nobody's going to tell me I'm not doing my job. That's what's going on here. And so he would come in and I'd have a smile and oh, hello, like a movie. Hello, darling. How was your day? And he'd come in and he'd start talking to me like that. He'd be like, blah, 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 blah. When he talked to me, just so sharp and so strong and everything. And I'm just like, oh my God, to the point where, I used to be a fairly intelligent person. I used to have quite a lovely vocabulary. Then I had children. I don't know what the hell happened. Anyway, but when he walked in the house, he would do that to me. And then after a while, I'd start to stutter when I talk. I started stuttering. And I was like, oh, hell no, that's not happening. How did I even get here? I don't even know how I got here. It was like a few years ago, I was running a business. I had a red sports car. I lived in my own house. Then this guy comes around, asks me to marry him, knocks me up, and here I am, and I'm stuttering now. And I was like, I don't even know how this happened. Blamed him for everything. All my choices, by the way. But, so one day, he pulled up in the carport. California, we had a carport on the side. And as soon as he came in, I didn't have everything done. And as soon as he came in, I went, oh, he's home. And I'm like, okay, now I'm afraid that he's home. And I said, oh, hell no. If he walks in here, I was backed into a corner. That was it. I said, if he walks in here and says one word to me that isn't perfectly nice, that's it. And, I'm doing the dishes. He walks in. Oh, hi, love. And starts yelling at me. And I said, threw the dish rag down and I said, I don't know who the hell you think you are, but you used to work for me. I don't know if you think I'm some kind of whore you picked up off the street, but that's not what's going on here. I said, you think you're powerful? I will take those kids and I will take everything you love and I will walk out the door. Don't you ever talk to me like that again. And you should have seen his face. Just like, well, push that too far. That's never happening again. Yes, darling, we're never doing that again. And I was so glad that I came running out of that corner screaming. Because if I hadn't taken initiative at the time when I was backed into that corner, I might have been a mess. I would have been a weak little woman, and he would have walked all over me. And it told him something. I don't think he even realized that he was treating me that way. He just got so used to being the boss at work on this, just really rough environment. And he comes home and he's talking to me, and I talked to him later on about it. And he said, I didn't really even realize that I was doing that to you. And I said, I know. I know that now. But you got to come kicking and screaming out of that corner. That doesn't mean we go rushing out in the streets and start blowing people up. No, we don't do it that way. Because that's not where we're at. Where we're at is in a spiritual war. And that is much more powerful now. Our numbers are much more powerful now. And so what we really have to do is get smart about it. Quit cowering in the corner. And hoping that they'll be nice to us. And take initiative and stand up and say, no. No more. And that's why your prayer is so important. Did I ever have to do that with him again? Yes, I did have to do that again. One other time. And he was he was so smart. So smart. I was trying to stay one head. He had a gambling problem. And I didn't know it. And then I found out about it. And, it got really bad. And I had stashed away money for the kids. We were going to take the kids and do something with them. And so we get in this fight because I've got like at the time, you got babies, $1,200 is a bunch of money. And so I've got $1,200 hidden away somewhere in the house because if it was anywhere he could find it, he'd take it. He'd go to the casino in the middle of the night, try to double up. I'm like, this, and he would tell me, I know I have a problem. I can't have a credit card anymore. Okay. I can't have the bank account anymore. I have, just give me cash is where we got to. And, for the day. And so one day he comes home and he wanted the money. I said, no, tell me where it is. And he's like, forcefully, like stomping around the house, chasing me around, like, tell me where it is, Jen, tell me where it is. And I'm like, no, I'm leaving. And so I go pack my bag, and the kids were at grandma's anyway when this happened. I was going to leave. And so I go outside, and I had the, the four-door Blazer, and I was like, my tires are so flat. He just took a screwdriver and let all the air from the rim out of the tires so I couldn't leave. And I'm like, so I go inside, and he took my phone. I couldn't find my cell phone. And so that was when we still had like house phones. So I go inside, I'm going to use the house phone. And I was in one room. Katie's room is where I hid the money too. I was in there and I was trying to use the phone. He took the phone off the hook in another room, so I couldn't call out. And I said, is this really happening again? And so the money was in the closet in that room. I locked myself in Katie's room. Now he's at the door, banging on the door. Give me the money, Jen. Let me in. You have this big man voice trying to scare me. He's never touched me. He never hurt me at all. But he was trying to be scary. He was trying to make me think things. And I actually thought things. For a moment, I was like, is this seriously happening? I mean, what if he like breaks down the door and starts to hurt me or something? So I grabbed the money. And then I was like, something came over me, even more than the first time when I told him never to talk to me. I don't know what the hell happened. I was backed into that corner. And my babies were at my mom's house. I'm like, I'm getting to my babies. And you better get the hell out of my way. So I opened that door. So stupid. I'm so stupid. I should have done that. But I opened the door. And I'm like, all right, mother fluffer. You know, you want to go? I'm going out swinging. And let's do it. Again, his face was like, well, what am I doing? You know, like I'm an idiot, you know, and I just came running at him like a crazy woman. And I'm like, I'll leave this house one way or another if I have to run naked down the street, you know. But that's the kind of corner that we're in. That's what I'm talking about. I was thinking about these two situations today. I'm like, why am I thinking about this? And I'm like, because that's where we are. This is how I feel. This is how I feel. We're at the place where everybody's like, nothing's happening. Everything's going down the toilet. You know, you have to remember who you're dealing with, right? Because don't I look like a frail little, well, I'm not frail, you know, I always need to lose weight anyway. But, you know, look like pretty, you know, I don't look very tough woman. You know, I've never been a very tough woman. You don't have to be. It's that survival instinct that's within you. And if you're divinely connected, and you remember that you are, that's when you say, no. No, God, that's enough. That's enough. This is now. Now is the time when we win. And they don't want you to do that. They want you to be afraid. You know, Jesus told me in meditation one, fear is a liar. He doesn't call it evil. He calls it fear. Interesting. Whenever referenced, he doesn't say any of the names. He just calls it fear and lies. And we have to stop giving in to the fear. Even down to all of us on these shows saying, well, what if this doesn't happen? No, everything's going to go to shit. What are we going to do then? Everybody's got to, you know, like just like me, I got to plan everything. I got to have A, B, and C because of the kids. And I'm like, you know what? And, you know, if everything goes, excuse my language, but this is how, if everything goes to shit, all right, this is what we're going to do. And so, like, over time, my family will hear me say something like that. Oh, that's good to have. You know, because if everything goes to shit, no, we could use that to do this or that. You know, and then, like, before we even knew about the pandemic, I started shopping. I started stocking up the house. And usually we do that around wintertime up here, but not as severe as I was doing. You know, it's not obsessive, but it was funny because my kids are like, do we really need like 24 cans of beans? I mean, do we eat that many green beans? And I'm like, listen to your mother. Something's coming, okay? Weather's coming. Something's coming. Just leave me alone. Let me do my thing, you know? And, you know, toilet paper and just, you know, like baking mixes that you only need water for. That was like my big obsession. Oh, well, you only need water for that. That's good shit right there. And like, and so we have land up in the mountains. We have all kinds of stuff, but, you know, we don't have like a bunker full of stuff, but, you know, the house is stocked and I've kept it stocked. And it's just like, we have to get back down to who we really are. We have to start, just like Casey Jones says on the Real Deal Report, you know, the peel back the layers of the onion. We need to get back down to who we really are using your natural instincts. Just like when I was a kid and I would watch my environment, I would watch the animals, I could feel something coming. pretty soon I could feel it coming just like them. The birds would act in a certain way. The wind would change. The animals would stop. They would react. This is who we have to get back to being, but in a divine way. You know, the animals don't run around obsessively all the time thinking that, you know, the sky is falling and freaking out all the time. It's only when something's really going down, right? So we prepare for what's going down. But we have to start taking an active spiritual, be a participant in the whole thing and not just, and we have a lot of you, a lot of people have used your voice when you were called to do so. I don't think that's still where we're at. I think we've gone to a different level of this. And I think that, you know, it's time to say no. You know, it's time to come out of the corner. It's time to open up the kid's bedroom and go running at that stuff. And I'm not saying everybody go out in the street with your pitchforks and your torches and everything else. You know, that's not going to be good for anybody. You know, I mean, swear to God, if I had to run a mile or if I had to run away from a predator, I'd probably just die right there because I've been home for like a year. I'd probably just die. That's it for me. You know, is that a hill? Do I have to run up that hill? Just shoot me because I'm not going to make it. You know, that's not my strength, is going out in the streets and fighting people. But as a spiritual warrior, I can honestly say, as a spiritual warrior, I am a badass. And so are you, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be listening to me. Because I specifically asked God, I know what my part is in this whole thing. I know what my purpose is in this life. And it's to switch on the lights. And whoever will find me. And not that I know everything. But there just may be one thing that I say that will do that. And that's my job. And so if you found your way to me, it's time to turn on the switch. So this has been kind of a weird show. But, you know, and I think at times I'm just going to pop on because when I go about my day in between readings, I get these ideas. I'm reminded of something. And then I'm like, you know, that totally relates to the whole situation right now. That's good stuff. You know, just go on and flip on some lights with that one. So I might just pop on for short ones here and there. Candace, what was that all about? She was here to tell us some good stuff. And her electricity goes off. Random. We're doing this again. Because I don't mess around. There's something that she's got that I want all of you to know. And we're going to do it. And if we have to do it on my radio station. Look at this. Look how I'm getting good at this here. Look at this. Banner. If I have to do it on the radio station where we can say whatever the heck we want, I will. So stick with me, kids. We're in for a wild ride. I'm really excited. I'm just, you know, I can feel it when something's coming, and I don't always know what that is. I try to find out, but sometimes we're meant to be in the thick of it. You know? I mean, what if somebody had told me that day, well, your husband's going to come home and you're going to get in a huge fight and you're going to end up, he's going to like let all the air out of your tires and blah, blah, blah. Maybe I wouldn't have been there. And maybe I wouldn't have grown. And maybe I wouldn't have known how strong I really am. So, you're all spiritual warriors. You're all here for a reason. It's time to flip that light on and get to work. If you'd like to have a reading with me, come and talk to the angels. Sit down with me. We'll figure it out. Go to jenniferfallaw.com. Here we go. Bing. Another banner. Learned how to do that today. And I still have some openings this week. Anytime. I would love to hear from you. Thank you all for joining me tonight. We'll have Candace WhiteLight on another time. And I will see you all soon. You know, I'm planning on doing my shows on Mondays and Wednesdays. I'm going to try and fit in another day, but my schedule's really tight. with the station and the readings and the other shows that I do. But maybe if I could get on here real quick on certain days, we'll get on more often. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and God bless you. And God bless you on your meditations and on your spiritual journey. Good night.